Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. This is a special edition from Learn Educational Channel about end of life planning. And we have a very special guest today, Jeremy Dowland. He is the pre planning specialist at Alsip in Person's Funeral Chapel. We also want to give a special thank you to our sponsors, Alsip in Person's Funeral Chapel, Ancora Health Services, and also Hillcrest Memorial Gardens. Jeremy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you personally, what brought you to this space to help supporting people in pre-planning?
It's a kind of a fun, interesting story. I was in banking and in finance for 15 years, and I've done a lot of things customer service wise. That's basically been my whole career has been some form or another of customer service. And I just was able to kind of outgrew the positions with banking and the credit unions I worked with. Um, and just wasn't as happy as I wanted to be. And I was able to come across this. My wife actually was the one that helped me find these position, and she was actually delivering flowers for a local floral company here in the Meridian area, and she just had a feeling, the inclination to say, maybe we should see if these people are hiring. And she just got me the information, and I called over, and it just one thing led to another, and it just was really interesting because I don't have a background with anything with funeral services or anything of that nature, but having the opportunity to sit down with families and help them pre-plan and make pre-arrangements ahead of time was something that just intrigued me after I heard more and learned about it, and I just wanted to be able to sit down with as many people as possible to help out as much best I can.
Well, can you describe what that term is, pre-planning or pre-arrangement? What does that actually involve?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and thanks for asking. Pre-planning or pre-arranging is just that, is people come in and they want to sit down and visit, and I fortunately have the great privilege of only helping those that are still currently living. So whether somebody is on hospice or they want a young couple and they're like, you know what, we want to make our arrangements. None of us get to know what day we get to pass on. Well, we don't know how long we're guaranteed this life, and so some people have the forethought and foresight to think ahead of time. Like, so if something were to happen, or not so much if, but when it happens, what do I want to have done? Do I want to be buried? Do I want to be cremated? Or do I want services? Or how all does that kind of look? And so that's what they do. They come in and sit down with me and we talk and we visit and we just kind of go over all of those questions. And through process of elimination, kind of figure out what it is that he or she wants to have done, and we design our policies and everything to be for the person at that time, which is really nice because it guarantees our pricing right now for 2026. But somebody could be living till, another 80 years and be 2086 or 2096, and it's still paid for. So they could take care of everything well in advance. And that way, when they do go, families are able to not have to stress about what decisions to make because the person already took care of it, and it's already, and they can then focus on grieving rather than grieving and making hard decisions as far as the final arrangements.
That's so important. That was going to be my next question is what point do most people begin this process, and when would you recommend people starting?
I would recommend the sooner the better, for anybody. I've helped the families I've actually been fortunate to help a couple in their early 30s, which was kind of surprising. But I've also helped people all the way up to age 102. And so there's no, perfect time. Um, I say, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, that would be 25 years ago. The next best time would be today. And so for people that are watching this and thinking maybe when's a good time, the best time would be today, or as soon as you feel comfortable talking about these things. We're able, like I said, as we sit down and visit, we're able to guarantee and lock in pricing when the time happens, when you do everything, and you can still have everything paid for and live for many, many, many years. but you paid for it now rather than the family having to pay for it later, which is
Right.
really nice.
So important. You know, I think about when people are, if those prearrangements aren't done, that can add an extra layer of stress for people, and when they should be in the grieving process, whereas they're having to make all these really important decisions. And so I would imagine planning this beforehand could really help with the grieving process.
It really can. You think about it, I mean, I'll use myself as an example. My wife and I are celebrating 24 years this coming up for marriage, and if something happens to her, I'm going to have what we call funeral brain. I'm not going to be able to think straight, and I want to be like, I'm making all of these decisions, but I'm grieving the loss of my wife, my loved one, the one that I built this life with. And for people that have done it even longer, or it's been together longer, it's even that much harder. You've built that relationship with somebody for so long that if the sooner you can make the decisions, and now's the time to make it easier when people are, very coherent and understanding, and they can decide what they want to have done, as elaborate or as simple. It makes no difference. But the sooner they do it, then yeah, it's so much easier because then, just like you said, the family can then grieve and not have to deal with the stress of making arrangements and grieving all at the same time.
Very much so true. What do you think people misunderstand about this process of pre planning?
Ooh, that's a good one. That you have to be old to do this. That you have to, you're like, oh, I'm 27 years old. I'm gonna live another 70 years. I'll worry about this in 30 years. There's no guarantee. There is no guarantee. Just recently, unfortunately, we had one of our public officials, a mayor of Nampa, who was 47 years old, pass away suddenly. He was 47. There's no guarantee for anything. So I think people, and it's just human nature. We're young, we're invincible, we're going to live for a long, long time. Death is for old people. I'm not old. We blink and all of a sudden we're not 21 anymore. We're now 51 and 61. Like, where did that time go? It went by so fast. And so I think people just forget that they need to plan in advance and think about it because it's going to come sooner or later, whether we like it or not.
Oh, such a good point. Well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for this great conversation and helping us to understand the work that you do. And we want to thank all of our listeners who have joined us at this amazing Learn End of Life channel. And we'll continue the conversation and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, Jeremy.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.